Hello, Jonathan and Emma. It's so great to see you. It's just fantastic. How are you both?
Really very good considering everything. Really, really good, and I'm happy to see you.
I'm so happy to finally meet both of you. So my guests today are Jonathan Ware. I should have said it the other way around. Ema Nikolovska and Jonathan Ware. So Emma, you have been on my radar for at least a year, and everybody I know and trust from all different places have told me how wonderful you are. And then, of course, I've watched your Wigmore Hall performances. And Jonathan, you're not an unknown name to me, and I'm so bloody heartbroken. You were supposed to be coming here in January with Golda, and the Metropolitan Opera kicked us out.
I know. I was really heartbroken, but hopefully we find another time.
I hope so. Yeah, I really do, because I mean, God forbid, that's a wonderful engagement she's got, and yeah. So Emma, you are you're a kind of Canadian, aren't you?
Yes. When I was 1 year old, I immigrated to Toronto with my parents, and from Skopje, Macedonia. I was born in Skopje. And all of our family is basically in Skopje, and we're the only ones in Canada. So yes, I am an immigrant and Canadian and Macedonian. And
I gather that you played the violin to start.
Yes. When I was 4 years old, my dad took me to Remini House of Music in Toronto, on Bloor Street, right across from the RCM, and got my first violin. And I was signed up in Suzuki lessons. When I stopped with Suzuki, then I was in the what was then called the Young Artist Performance Academy at the Royal Conservatory of Music. After that, I went to the Glenn Gould School. I studied violin for my bachelor's with Barry Schiffman and Paul Cantor. And then meanwhile, I was just doing private lessons with Helga Tucker as part of the Young Artist Performance Academy and the Royal Conservatory School. And I played a lot for singers during my undergrad. My second year in GGS, I played in my first opera. We did Don Giovanni, and I fell in love with playing operas and playing for singers. And I also went to American Institute of Musical Studies in Graz as an orchestral musician. So I got a lot of chances there to accompany singers while also doing standard orchestral rep, but I played in a lot of their arias and scenes concerts. I also went to master classes while I was there. On my days off, I just watched the singers doing work. And towards the end of my degree, I knew that I wanted to see what would it be like to be a singer and dedicate myself full time to singing, because I had a feeling that maybe violin wasn't the thing I wanted to do for the rest of my life, and I wanted to explore that feeling. I had a year to study privately with Helga Tucker after my undergrad, and I basically did applications for vocal programs at various schools, and I ended up in September 2016 starting in Guildhall. So that is my sort of violin voice story. Yeah.
Jonathan?
Yes?
Can you get, between the two of us, we've got to make sure you get a word in edgeways.
Please feel free to stop me.
So you're American born?
I'm Texan born. That strange distinction.
Well, we'll forgive you for that.
Yes, that strange distinction that a lot of Texans tend to make.
So how did you land up teaching on the faculty of the Boulez Academy?
Yes, well, 7-year long story. I was finished with my education in the States. I did my undergrad at Eastman and then my master's at Juilliard, and I had wanted to study with Wolfram Rieger. So after I was already working at Juilliard, having finished my master's there, and I suddenly decided to just come to Germany. I was already playing with quite a few German singers, and it made sense. So I started a second master's with Wolfram, and so I was here in the German system then, and I started working with singers at the Hans Eisler Hochschule. Right after I finished my master's degree, I started coaching there. And it's been now, this is my 4th year at Barenboim-Said Akademie, where I work with string players there.
What, coaching chamber music or what?
Coaching chamber music. I assisted two of the string professors, Michaela Martin, the violin teacher.
Oh, no. What?
Yes.
My God. Stop. Michaela Martin.
Yes.
So I founded the VRS in 1980. And I think it was either 82 or 83 that I brought Michaela Martin to Vancouver to play a recital.
No kidding.
Amazing.
That was right after Queen Elizabeth then, I think.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. No kidding.
Oh, God, isn't that amazing? Right? Oh, Jesus, does that make me feel old. Woo! So how did you two get together?
Where did we first meet? At Boulez?
Yeah, in the Schubert Week in 2019.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's where we first met in 2019, and then I was told about you just because you're of YCAT, the YCAT connection.
Right. Yes, there's the YCAT connection as well.
That's right.
I think that was the first year you sang a half
with Malcolm Martineau.
And it was just one of the highlights of my recital. It's absolutely, seriously, one of the highlights of the recitals I had seen that year.
One of the things, actually, I'm dying to ask you was I watched your Wigmore Hall concert with Malcolm. I was just fascinated by the Slonimsky advertising songs. Mm-hmm. How did you come upon those?
Oh, that's an interesting story. So a couple years ago, I was doing research for the repertoire I wanted to program in the semifinal and final of the Kathleen Ferrier Award in London. And so I was doing some research in the Guildhall Library, and one of my professors, Jane Manning, wrote an amazing book called Vocal Repertory of the 20th Century. And I think she has 2 volumes of this, which are incredible. So I was looking because
sadly, I think today passed away.
Yeah, yesterday.
Yes. I just saw it this morning.
It's very sad. I was very sad to hear that she passed away yesterday. And she has had such a huge influence on my imagination and how I think about repertoire and what's possible. And I was in her class the first couple years of Guildhall. So she was a huge, huge influence on me and expanding my research. And I would, we'd have so many interesting conversations about music, even when, after I wasn't in her class anymore, and I would just go over to her house in North London, and we'd speak about music over tea, and it is a really great loss, and I've been thinking about her a lot. And so I was in the Guildhall Library. I was looking through her book. I saw the Slonimsky songs. And I thought, oh my goodness, I really want to do this one day. I can't do it in this moment. I had to, I think, program something written after 1975, but I filed them away in the back of my mind, and I remembered them because they were so unusual. And how brilliant that he would set music to text he found in newspapers. And also, when I heard them, they were hilarious. There's even recordings of him performing them himself. So I'm remembering Jane a lot on this day, and it was her books, which I would recommend honestly to any singer and any pianist. They are a fount of knowledge and fantastic information about people who have written for the voice in the past 50 years, and very unusual selections as well. And it's great because Jane has taught me a lot about programming and the way she speaks about music as well. For certain songs, she'll say, well, this one has a certain kind of lyricism. This one is more like a minimalistic style. This one is more like this. So you could, when you get a certain kind of vibe of the song, you already have an idea for its programming potential even before you've seen the score. So I think that's a very important resource for singers and pianists, because programming is so important in what we do. It changes the way we listen. It changes the way audiences listen. And I think that we can always challenge ourselves to find even more constellations of oddities and surprises in our programming approaches.
I would say that is of paramount importance, particularly in song recitals, because as you know, song recitals are not the most popular kind of recitals that any of us can present. And I think it's the kinds of things that you're talking about that could maybe turn things around a bit. I mean, of course, I adore Schubert and Wolf and all these wonderful Lieder and Schumann. But how do you bring new people in? And especially maybe younger audiences. I remember once going to hear the debut of Christina Schaeffer, and she sang the Crumb Apparitions, which pinned me to the back of my seat. So I came back to Vancouver, and her manager at the time was Alec Treuhoft. So I booked her to come and sing here, Christina Schaeffer. And then he phoned me and he said, Leila, I've just got Christina's program and she wants to sing the Crumb Apparitions. And I said, great. And he said, wait a minute, but what about your audience? And I said, screw the audience. I wanted to sing the Crumb Apparitions. He said, that's why I like dealing with you. So anyway, so we booked her and she was going to do the Crumb. So my marketing person at the time said, well, just advertise that she's singing Beethoven and Schubert and Wolf, and let's not even put the Crumb in the ads and stuff. And I said, no, what's going first and foremost in the ads is Crumb, because that is what is the most electrifying thing in this concert. And, you know, we sold it bloody well in the end, and it was fantastic. So I think that we have to take risks. I think that the audience does like to come along with us.
I absolutely agree, and I think the apparition, I've done it several times with Golda, and it's always the piece that everyone somehow after the concert comes and says, oh, I was spellbound. There was such an energy in the room, and it's. Is it different from Schubert? Of course, it's different. But I think it encourages everyone to listen. It kind of levels the playing field. I think a lot of people think maybe, oh, I don't know if I have an opinion, or I don't know enough to have an opinion. And then when you get something that's new, everyone has the everyone starts from the same place, and it allows us all to actually have the conversation about the piece in a way that I think everyone's just more comfortable with, because there's not a sense of, oh, I haven't known this piece for 30 years and oh, I don't feel like I should talk about it, which I think often happens in especially in song recitals. There's a sense of, oh, I won't share my opinion unless I really know what I'm unless I have this kind of erudite opinion. And And so this is why I think injecting recitals with either programming well-known things in uncommon ways, or giving people the chance to hear something they haven't heard before. I think it's vital to this kind of almost democratic conversation to be had at the end, where actually everyone's opinion is just as valid as everyone else's.
I get quite upset when people say to me, oh, well, you know a lot more about music, so you know whether or not to enjoy it more or less. And I say that's nonsense, because I don't enjoy music from an intellectual basis. Everything is in my gut. And it's how is the performer communicating directly with me. The other thing I wanted to ask you about is, it's Barbara Hannigan. And I will tell you that 3 days before Christmas, Malcolm called me just to wish me a happy Christmas. And I was actually in the elevator going downstairs to walk to the drugstore to buy something. So we started chatting, and he said to me, I've just been doing a little bit with Barbara Hannigan. And Barbara knows all about your series, and she doesn't understand why she hasn't been to Vancouver yet. At which point, I literally went 25 feet into the air. I walked on air to the drugstore. So finally, I don't know, about 3 weeks ago, I know it was after you had said you had gone to do some work with her recently now. And I found that she has an email address on her website. So I wrote to her. I got the most wonderful response from her. She said she knows about us through Florian Bush to begin with. But anyway, if ever she wants to come here, I will move heaven and earth to get her here. What is it that she has a foundation she started? What is it?
Oh, the Equilibrium. From what I understand, because I'm a relative newcomer to Equilibrium, I think it's been around since 2016.
Yes.
Barbara's one of the sort of things that gave it its impulse was that I believe, I could be wrong, but from my understanding, it's that Barbara wanted to conduct Rake's Progress, and she was able to hire young singers, and she really wanted to do this for Gothenburg Symphony. So she held auditions, and she got this amazing young cast to do Rake's Progress, and it was the first opera she'd conducted. And I think they made a documentary about it in the past year. And but then after that, EQ, there was also the idea that it would also be a tribe of people doing different kinds of projects, like-minded people who are thinking about the dialogue between new music and old music. What are we contributing to this present moment? How do we react to what's going on in the music world, in the world at large? And it seems to be a great vehicle for connecting artists who share certain impulses and goals in their arts practice, and for them to be able to do different projects together. So I was doing Pulcinella with Barbara, which she's done in a few different iterations over the past few years with other EQ artists, and it's just amazing to meet the other colleagues who were on board, who were with EQ from the start, actually.
Will you do more with her? How does it work?
Well, it depends. It's sort of on a project basis, depends on availability or what's possible. But what I really appreciate about what she does, which I believe is taps into our values and how we see things, is when we listen to music, we all have certain prejudices in our listening, which can be unconscious. For example, oh, well, Haydn should sound like this, and oh no, this music makes me recoil. I will shut myself off. Or we have ideas about what music is, but actually, the best thing we can do, I think, is to allow ourselves to let our opinions and impressions of music constantly change, because as people we are different every minute. So what Barbara does in her programming as well, and just in how she approaches music is, I think she exemplifies a performer who is able to disarm the unconscious prejudices of listeners and to offer something that like breaks that vice grip that we all have in our minds. At that time in 2015, I think that, due to being young and maybe my own tastes and immaturity in some ways, I was more reluctant to approach certain new music. And I had very reactive experiences with it, where I'd hear something and I'd be like, oh no. And I was, I think that this can be the case for many people when they hear something avant-garde. And then I had a friend at the time who said to me, oh, Emma, it's not fair for you to be so judgmental in this moment, because this is the first time you've ever heard this piece. You don't completely understand what's going on. And, maybe it's not so kind to immediately shut yourself down. It's important to be disturbed in this way sometimes, because it teaches you about your limits. And then you can expand them, and you can be curious and say, why am I reacting like this to this music? What does that say about where I'm at in this moment? What does it say about how I've been approaching things in my own practice? What does it say about, I don't know, even where I'm at personally as well? I think I've learned through the years, through meeting people who were more open-minded than me at the time, and I'm always meeting people who are even more open-minded, and it challenges me to say, like, wait, what can I learn from listening to this piece right now? I think a lot of it comes down to our own cultivation of openness, but also some of it comes down to what are performers doing to welcome us or to inspire us to listen differently.
So let's just go to something else, because I think maybe you might have some kind of idea about this. One of the things about vocal recitals, either we have these bloody texts in the programs, German on this side, English on that side, and you're singing to an audience and you're seeing the top of their heads while they're looking at the program, trying to follow the text. That's not very good. Okay, so then we go to the, let's put the titles up on a thing above the singer. We only started doing that about 3 years ago. It was the first time ever that we were presenting a duo song recital with Florian Busch and Mia Person and Malcolm. Florian was the first to arrive. He flew from Vienna, and I went to the airport to meet him, and he came off the plane. He clearly didn't have a voice. So I took him to the hotel, and by the next morning, Malcolm phoned and he said, don't worry, I've emailed Mia, and if Florian can't sing, we'll change the program. Well, of course, Florian couldn't sing. He couldn't sing on the whole tour, but that buggered up our surtitles up on the top. So, you know what? Malcolm and Mia just talked about what they were doing. And it was so much better. I really think that taking away the text in a program and taking away the issue of text so that the audience will still understand what you're singing about, it takes that whole Achtung, you're entering away from the recital. It makes you go closer together.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a possibility? Am I crazy?
No, I absolutely agree. I think there are so many so many options for how to do a song recital that's not just English and then the other language. I did a Schöne Müllerin a couple of years ago with animation, actually.
Cool.
An animated film behind. And
Whoa.
of course, this isn't for everyone. And I know some people will shiver at the thought of doing this to Schöne Müllerin, but it was fantastic. It was really beautifully done, and it told the story. And to be honest, I don't even remember at this point if there were translations. I think it was just sort of a really beautiful animation of the story. I mean, song, it originated in the home. It was how you spent a Friday night or a Saturday night, and it would have been this more communal, let's talk about the text. It was much more conducive to. It wasn't a museum piece, is what I mean.
No.
There were no make sure you stand a meter away behind the red rope and observe from far away. No, it was much more a conversation, and that's what we're all really looking forward to getting back to is having music happen in a space where then we're all in the same space, having our own subjective responses to actually objective sound waves, that we're all getting the same sound waves, and they all hit us in different ways.
So the other thing, by the way, which you touched upon, Emma, is, and I think you did too, Jonathan, Joyce DiDonato once said she loves to go out in front of an audience, whether it's an opera or a song recital, who's never heard what they're about to see before in their lives, because they don't come with, as you said, with this baggage in their heads of, oh, let's see if she can sing it better than so-and-so sang it, or my favorite performance is so-and-so, let's see if this measures up. So that can't actually happen when you're singing, like, for example, if you're singing those Slonimsky songs, find me 3 people in a hall that will have heard them before and will say, well, I heard so-and-so sing them. So that's one way to get around things. And let me put another thing to you, which is also slightly outrageous. But if you are programming a song recital, and let's just take Vancouver. So Vancouver is a big, small town. We've developed an audience here for recitals. It's not vast, but if we have a vocal recital, we can sell about 500 or 600 seats. Now that's a lot. It's more than Wigmore. But I'm wondering whether the people who stay away in droves, because you find me an opera goer in Vancouver who will go to a vocal recital. And I wonder if it's like that in other parts of the world. But if you were to do a recital of a whole lot of things that nobody's ever heard of before, would you be able to bring in a new audience because it's going to be so new and different, rather than trying to persuade these people who have their notions of all they want to hear is Handel and blah, blah, blah?
I think what might draw our people to a song recital in Vancouver is if there is some kind of connection to the community there, like who are the composers who are writing there? Let me learn one of their cycles. Or is there another way to involve people, musicians who are working in the community? Maybe some people who are in the orchestra want to collaborate for a vocal chamber piece. Maybe there's a way to get a small commission. Like maybe I think that what can be very amazing about song recitals is that they are an opportunity to create an experience that is tailored to that moment, that time and place, that these people in the song recital know they will not get it anywhere else. Maybe another side to creating song recitals is this way of how do we meet new people and involve new people from this community, because maybe that way we'd be able to learn something we even wouldn't be able to learn otherwise.
I think one of the things I'm beginning to think a lot more about is bringing an artist in. It makes sense, maybe, after COVID, and who knows what's going to happen. But it's better to bring someone in for a sort of residency for a few days and let them settle in and do other things in the community. Okay, that's rather than, in, out, gone, thank you, bye-bye.
Yeah, that's the song phenomenon. Like, operas get, set like 10 performances. Why not have something similar? I mean, and when jazz people go somewhere, they go there for a few nights, right? It makes sense because it's I don't know, you get a chance to take stock of the place and work with people who are there, which is a great exchange as well.
Obviously, you're going to have to come here and do a stint.
I would love that, yeah.
It's so wonderful to meet you. I'm sure that your concert will be every bit as enjoyable and fascinating as the time we spent together talking. And let's just hope that this is the cocktail party before we get to spend a lot of time together. I can't wait.
Yes.
Thank you, you two.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us. And
go and have a wonderful supper. Take care.
Thank you
both. Bye.